Hi friends, welcome to episode 32 of the Quirky Monday Craftcast. My name is Kalisha and you can find me anywhere online as Nadira Tani. I'm coming to you today from my home in Central Florida. Today is Sunday, March 25th, I think. And once again, we are racing the sun, so hopefully I can get everything in before sunset. I just got off work and I thought, I've got time to film a podcast. So yeah, let's jump right in. So I have no completely finished objects this week, but what I do have is I have a hoe, and that is a half object, and dun, 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 it's one of my new jelly bean socks. So these are vanilla socks made from the Red Heart, Heart and Soul colorway, the jelly beans colorway. And then the heels, toes, and cuffs are Nitpick Stroll and Sour Apple. Like I said, vanilla, 64 stitches, 2.25 millimeter. That's it. This sock has been on the needles for almost a month now, I think. I couldn't remember exactly when I cast it on, but I think it was sometime around my birthday. So yeah, I've been knitting on these forever. So I'm glad that the first one is off, so I just need to get through the second one. I have done the cast on and I think one row of the ribbing. But yeah, I have this much yarn left. This is about 30 grams. Am I right? Yeah, this is about 30 grams of yarn left. And I think that's a pretty good like length sock. The leg here is 40 rows. There's 20 rows of ribbing. The heel is a just regular short row wrap and turn heel. I did 72 rows on the foot, and then my favorite rounded toe. Ta-da, ta-da-ta-da-da. And I really like how in the camera you can see that it's like kind of striping, but when you look at it in real life, like it doesn't read as stripes, which is so weird. Like I didn't realize that it's striped until I held it up on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and I was like, hey, those are kind of striping. So that's pretty cool. So, oh, I've done more than one row of the ribbing. I have that much. So yeah, that is vanilla knitting. My first, well, I guess that's a work in progress and a hoe, so yeah. Next, we'll go into the rest of the works in progress. The first one that I want to talk about is my SEAFORTH hat by KARIE WESTERMANN. Oops. KARIE WESTERMANN. But last episode I was talking about how I didn't think any of the hats that I was knitting would fit in with any of the themes for the Wool Needles Hands hat cowl. But the April theme is lace, and as I'm working on this, it's looking very lacy to me. Would you qualify that as lace? Because I mean, it only has the eyelets like at the beginning and end, and then there's a lot of like decreased shaping and stuff that happens in between, but it's lacy, right? I think so. So I might enter it. But I am, I think, about 4 repeats in with the pattern, and I'm doing the same thing that I was doing with my Devil Snare socks, where I have written in the chart there, and then I have my little sticky note that says "You are here," and I move it row to row. Although actually, since it's such a simple lace repeat or a simple chart, I don't really have to use it. So there's that. It's pretty cool. What else do I want to say about this? I'm using my succulent fibers in the strawberry thrift colorway, and I did double check the label. It is a Blueface Leicester Tussa Silk blend. I was correct last week. Mosquito. And it's a 70/30. So that's pretty good, or pretty cool. And it is working up really nicely. I like how you can see the variations in the color, which you couldn't really see in the skein. But there's subtle variations. So this would be, I guess, like a semi-solid or a kettle dye kind of look. So I think it's going to be so pretty. Yeah? Do we like it? Do we like it? Oh, actually, being true to character, I would wear it more like here. I'm excited for this color. This is going to look really cute on me. So yeah, here's the ball, and it's not currently in a project bag. I just have it in my my bag that I got from SeaWorld with the penguin on it, and I just folded it down like that, so it's kind of like a yarn bowl, because this is not one of the projects that I carry and like knit on throughout the day, so this is just at home like that. I think that's it with this one. Moving right along. I only have one more whip that I'm going to talk about. No, I only have one more whip that has progress on it from this past week, and that's my slouchy braiding party hat. So this is a pattern that I came up with called the braiding party hat, and this is my modified version. That's going to be a slouchier body. The original version was just a fitted beanie. So this one is going to be wider and slouchier, and I'm excited about it. And this is the progress. Let me see. I think between last time you saw this and now, I've done maybe 2 pattern repeats. So I actually need to put another clip right here to count the cable row that I just finished. But yeah. This is being knit from the Loops and Threads Joy DK from Michaels. And this is my first time using this yarn. It is a new yarn that they're carrying. So it's been like a new experience with it. Now, it is 100% acrylic, DK weight, of course, like I said, and I have just some comments on how it's been working up. It is very soft. It reminds me, it's got like the sheen and luster of the Caron Simply Soft, and you know, kind of that hand as well, like a softer acrylic yarn. It's very smooth, very round. However, I think this is going to pill like nobody's business, because as I'm knitting on this, like, let me see if you can see it anywhere. I think I picked them off, but actually no. Nope. Let me see. Yeah. You see that halo there? Those are all fibers that are fuzzing up just as I'm knitting it. And as I'm knitting along, I've even gotten to the point where there's like actual balls of like pills that are coming up in from just the action of knitting the hat, that you can pick off and like discard. And I mean, it doesn't bother me. The only thing that, you know, it really makes me think about is, you know, if I have a hat that's going to be like producing copious amounts of lint and like silver fluffs, I'm going to have it in my hair. I'm going to have it all in my hair. But that's not even a really big complaint about the yarn, but that is something to, you know, bear in mind. So like if you're going to use this to make a garment, you know, you want to be aware that there's most likely going to be some pilling, you know, that will be something that you would have to take care of as you're, you know, wearing the garment and laundering the garments and everything like that. So just a heads up on there. Another problem that I was having within like the knitting of this hat, I was having like, I had a lot of questions about like this row, like if anybody had any tips on how to tighten up that knit row, the knit stitch before the purl, like when you have a ribbing, because that stitch is always super loose for me. And I've started pulling it tighter, like when I get to that stitch, because I do feel a slack in the yarn when I come around to that particular stitch. So I have begun pulling it tighter, which is helping. But I'm also holding my needles closer together. Like for instance, I knit continental. So because I came to knitting from crochet, so this is just easier for me. So normally when I'm knitting, this is about, we'll hold it here. This is about how far away I have my tension yarn from my needles. I'll knit like this until I get to that stitch that's normally loose, and then I tighten up so that all of my tension is like right there. And that has been kind of helping. And then I, you know, go back to how I normally have it, like this far out. And then, you know, a couple people were like, oh, that'll come out in the blocking. And so I've been like, you know, stretching and tugging on the stitches, like as I'm working, like when I get rows down and everything. And I have been able to, did I just drop a stitch? No, I have been able to, you know, even it out a little bit as I like further down, like down here, I've been able to even them out. So that makes me feel good. Like, so when I get around to blocking this hat, even though it's acrylic, I am going to like soak it, like scrunch it around so that the stitches can like, you know, get to where they need to go. And then I'll probably just toss it in the dryer, to be completely honest. So I might actually just put it in the machine and let the machine wash it and then put it in the dryer. Yeah, I think that's what's gonna happen. But I'm pretty sure that that's gonna help that particular situation. But yeah, this is moving right along. It's a very relaxing and like, what's the word? Methodical knit for me, because you basically have almost like 3 rest rows and then you have your cabling, and it's only, I think there's like 4 different cable actions that you need for it. So it's a super simple pattern, super easy to memorize and just to go with. So yeah, that is my slouchy braiding party hat. And the last work in progress that I'm going to talk about hasn't had any activity this week. It's my green cardigan. Y'all know, the big green cardigan that in my heart had cabled fronts, but I got frustrated with it and decided I'm not doing cabled fronts. I'm just going to do solid fronts, and that's going to be that. So after I talked about it on last episode, like quite a few people were like, no, I know you can do it, like kind of like cheering me on, like with like this faith, like they believe, y'all believe that I can actually come up with this cabled front for my cardigan. And I really appreciate that, because I was totally like, you know, Kalisha, you probably can't do this. You're probably just dreaming too high, and you just need to do something that's within your wheelhouse and just finish the thing. Like I was talking to one lady who I'm actually going to talk about again in a second, but I was talking to this one lady on Ravelry, and I was like, you know, I just want it to be done. And she's like, I understand that you want it to be done, but I really think that you can do the cabling if that's what you really wanted to do. So I think I'm going to try the cabling again. I think I'm going to try it again. I don't know if I'm going to do two color cabling, but I'm definitely going to try the cabling. And the lady I was speaking to on Ravelry, I believe her name was Judy. Let's consult our notes. Yes, Judy. She gave me some book recommendations for crochet cables, and my local library, like the physical library, is actually kind of lacking when it, well, yes, it is kind of lacking when it comes to the variety of crochet books. I mean, it's good when it comes to knitting, which is basically what you see anywhere. But it's a little bit on the lacking side when it comes to crochet. So when she recommended these books, I was like, I'm going to check my library and see if they have it, but they probably won't. So I first, instead of checking my physical library first, I checked our online, like the app that our library uses. It's called Hoopla. And I don't know if your library is linked up with Hoopla, but you should definitely check it out, because it's just like an online digital program where you can check out ebooks, CDs, audiobooks, movies, television shows, all kinds of things like that are on it. I think it's a pretty new program, so they don't have like a lot of stuff, but they have a good amount of stuff. So I went on there to see if they had anything by the author that she told me, and I did not write down the author, but I will put the name of the books at the bottom of the screen, because on the Hoopla app, they had both books that this author had put out about crochet cables. So I borrowed both of those, and I found another book that had some crochet cabling in it, so I borrowed that one as well. So I have been looking through them and looking at how they construct the cables to see, you know, how I can create something myself out of it. So thank you so much, Judy, for those book recommendations. Thank you so much to everybody else who was like, no, don't give up on your cable-y dreams. Here's a kid riding a thing down the sidewalk. He almost crashed. He's good though. Okay, so like I said, thank you for all of your like positive feedback and encouragement. I'm gonna try it again. No promises. No. There will be a cable on the front of this cardigan. That's all. We're done. There's gonna be a cable. No more giving up on your dreams, Kalisha. So that is everything that I have for works in progress. I have a couple things on my maker plans. This coming weekend is my college homecoming alumni weekend, and I am going to have that skirt finished, which I showed the fabric for this Ankara print. I showed the Ankara print fabric for this skirt last episode, and I have not washed that fabric. I have not pulled it out to make this skirt. It is still folded up. I am living my life dangerously right now. But I mean, whatever. So I'm going to get that going between Monday and Tuesday. I'm going to get that skirt finished. And the kid's coming back. So if you hear that noise, it's the kid riding it's some sort of go-kart. It looks like a trash can lid on wheels. It really does. He also looks like he's like 3 times too big for it. Thanks, kid. Don't fall. So I have that plan for this weekend. I also see this. Sounded like he fell. He didn't. He's good. He's good. I also want to make one of these. It's probably going to be one of the smaller bags, but this is a pattern that Melody of the Melody Crochet podcast gave me in our birthday swap. So I'm going to make one of these. Yeah, one of the smaller ones. I'm going to use some of my Ankara fabric. Also, the way that our school does the alumni weekend, like homecoming event, you know, like everybody gets there Friday, Sabbath you have church, Saturday night we're having a poetry club show, and then Sunday we have like a big block party where people are selling things. There's like some people that make things, mostly it's like books and stuff like that, but I'm gonna have this as one of my as my tote bag for like whatever goodies I decide to purchase. I'm also going to make sure to have business cards so I can be like, oh yeah, you like this bag? Check me out at Quirky Monday Crafts at Etsy. Let me get your information and I'll send you an email. Like, I need to be on like my what is it? My marketing, my self-marketing, which is low-key why I want to make one of these, because I walk with this bag a lot and I'm like, oh, you like this bag? Yeah, I made it. You know, I sell these bags online, blah, blah, blah. But I'm the worst because I never have business cards with me. So I need to learn. So yeah, this is on Maker Plans. A skirt is on Maker Plans. And I have, there was something else that I wanted to put on Maker Plans, but I completely forgot what it was and I couldn't remember to write it down. So it must not have been that important. So moving right along. So that's going to move us into stash acquisitions. And when I was writing my notes yesterday, I was like, oh, I don't have any stash. Lies. I wish you guys could see this kid. He is like drifting around the corners now. Like he's gotten confident in his driving skills. Like he was just driving around the corner like this. I'm like, all right, little boy, you skid off of that little go-kart. I got Band-Aids shaped like tacos. That's all I got. I got taco Band-Aids. That's it. I don't have children. I'm not a parent. I can't help you. Anyway, stash position. So I have 2 stash positions. All right. So first, let's talk about this yarn. This is the yarn that Melody used to wrap my magic yarn ball swap that she sent me. And I totally thought that she dyed this herself, but she didn't. She said that it is the Soft and Sleek low pill fiber yarn from Hobby Lobby. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go and get another one of these so that I'll have 2, because I mean, you can do more things with more yarn. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll make like a shawl or something like that. So I went in and I found the yarn, and I picked up another one like this, but next to it I saw these, and I thought, oh my goodness, it's a gradient. So this one is actually multiple like shades of purple. Then I have this one, which is shades of purple and gray. And then I have then I have this one, which is just shades of gray. So, of course, when I saw these together, I mean, the whole world is knitting and crocheting faded things. And I don't have anything that does that. I mean, the closest thing that I have to a gradient is my crochet pullover that I made out of the mandala yarn. That's the closest thing that I have to a gradient, and it's not really a gradient. So I'm kind of excited about these. I don't know what I'm going to make out of it, but I'm thinking it's going to be something like a shawl. And since these are all, they're 100% acrylic, they're worsted weight. Each one of these balls is 4 ounces or 114 grams, which is 208 yards and 190 meters. So I'm kind of excited about this. Like, oh, turn it. There we go. Like, it's perfect. When I saw it, I was like, oh my goodness. And then I ended up sitting down on the floor of Hobby Lobby. I had this yarn, and then I had these going this way. And then there was, actually no, it was these 3. And then there was a gray and blue, a blue and green, a green, and then something else. And they all just blended one to another. It was amazing. But I restrained myself and only got the 2. So whatever I make, it is only going to be with these 3 balls of yarn. That's it. The next stash acquisition that I have is a skein of sock yarn from Bertolo Fibers, and it's gorgeous. I've ordered from Robin before, and I love the way that she dyes. I love her color sense, the choices that she makes, beautiful. You should definitely check out her yarn. And I think in her shop she has fingering, DK, and worsted, I believe. But so I try to restrain myself, okay? I try. And I try to say, Kalisha, you need to have plans when you purchase things. Just don't just go willy-nilly around purchasing stuff. So I tried. So this was the first thing that I bought from Robin. I bought this, I think, back in, it was either September or November, whenever we had the big hurricane. Whenever Hurricane Irma came through, I bought this right before Irma, and it got to my house like 2 days before the hurricane. So that was beautiful. This is the colorway Oceana, and it is a sock weight 75-25 merino, superwash merino nylon. So, oh, how many yards? 463 yards per 100 grams. So this was the first colorway that I bought from her, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I don't know what I want to do with this, but it was just so beautiful, and I was just like, somebody else is going to buy it and I'm never going to be able to get it, so I bought it. So I kind of did the same thing with this next ball. However, my plan, and this is how I went into it. I took a picture of this from her Etsy, and then a picture of a gray skein, because I have a gray skein that I dyed, like with like kind of like tonal grays in it, that I want to put with this. And then I had 2 other of her new colorways that she just recently listed, and I was like, okay, I want to buy something from her shop, but I want it to go with this and the gray. So I had like my little, what is it? Kind of like a film strip thing with the different ones, and I was looking at them, and I decided on this one. And it's called Pot of Gold. Guys, it's so beautiful. It doesn't go with the Oceana. I don't know how I talked myself into that. I think I was just kind of like, yeah, girl, it goes, buy it. It doesn't go with Oceana, but it's okay because it's beautiful, and I think it needs to stand alone. Look at that beautifulness. Look at those speckles. Like, it just makes me so happy. So yeah, it's also a 75-25, so So same yardage and everything. It's called Pot of Gold. Oh gosh. Oh, and this is her upside down. This is her card. So you can definitely find her on Etsy, Birch Hollow Fibers. Check her out. She is amazing. Look at that. I don't even know what this wants to be. I'm feeling very shawly, so this might grow up to be a shawl. This I'm thinking is probably going to grow up to be socks. But if I was a briocher, they probably would brioche very well together because of the high contrast. But yeah, so Robin, I love your stuff. It's beautiful. And I'm so happy I have these. So that is the end of Stash Positions, y'all. That's it. That's all I have stashed. That's it. That's all. Is there anything else that I wanted to show you guys? Oh, I have one other thing. It's not a stash position, but it is something new that came into my possession. So I took my friend's son to the library the other day, and it was quite the adventure for me because I've never taken him anywhere by myself. And I was nervous, but I was like, okay, Kalisha, you're nervous to do this. You want to go to the library. They were having like a choir rehearsal. So I was like, take Matt with you. And we had a good time. We walked into the library and he goes, whoa. It was adorable. He's 7, I want to say. Yeah, I think he's 7. I keep saying in my head he's 5, but he's not 5. So I found this book at the library. 3 Balls of Wool Can Change the World. And it's an Amnesty International book. Basically a story about a family that leaves Portugal and moves to, I think, Czechoslovakia. And it's this, in the story, they go from a really colorful place to a place that's not so colorful, and I'm seeing that I'm losing the light, but they go to a place that's not so colorful, and it just how do you not spoil a children's book? They're like 10 pages long. But in the book, there's the mother buys them some sweaters, and in the place that they move, there's only like 3 colors that the kids wear, and everything is very, you know, regimented. Everything is gray, and they start getting like kind of sad and like, oh, you know, everything is the same. What are we going to do about that? And so the mother takes their sweaters and unravels them. So you have like some pictures there. So she unravels their sweaters. Like the little girl had like an orange sweater, and her brothers had a green sweater and a gray sweater. So mom unravels the sweaters, and then she uses the yarn to re-knit them other sweaters with patterns and everything like that. And so it becomes like kind of a catalyst for the community around them to say, hey, you know, we don't all have to look alike. We don't all have to wear the same things. We can take, you know, what we have been given, like these plain sweaters, take it apart and make something that's beautiful and of our own. And I love that. So I think that this would definitely be a book that I would purchase for like our future kids' library or whatever. But yeah, 3 Balls of Wool Can Change the World by HENRIQUETA, CRISTINA, and Yara Kono. Yeah, So the way I found this book, I was walking through the kids section with Matthew, and we were like looking at books and stuff. And this one was standing, it was standing on top of the shelf, but I saw the back. And I was like, that's knitting. And I just took the book off the shelf. And I was like, I'm going to check this out. And yeah, the funny thing was, when I went to check them out, I let Matt do like the checkout process. We have a self-check program or computer stations, and I was letting him check them out, and he tried to put this back in the like the book drop. I was like, no, Matt, that's for me. So that brings us to the end of all of the Yarny content, and just in time, because those are the street lights. I made it. I'm gonna go home before the street lights come on. Did any of you, like, did your parents ever do that when you were little? Like, you knew that it was time to go home when the street lights came on? Because that's how life was when I was little. We'd be playing down the road, you know, like all your friends playing in the street, you know, playing like kickball and tag and in the dirt, sticks and stuff, stickball. And when those street lights came on, you better have been almost in your own yard or you're gonna get in trouble. But so I am going to go on inside, and we'll continue this podcast with Black Fibers, Black Threads. See you in a second. Okay, friends, we are back inside. I'm sitting on my bed, so if there's any camera shake, that's what's going on. And if you hear any snoring, Kiva is laying right here, and we all know that she is a professional relaxer. So she's actually asleep and snoring next to me. Like, she was awake a minute ago, like an actual minute ago. But now she's snoring like she's in the deepest sleep possible. So we are going to continue with the Black Fibers, Black Threads segment of this podcast. That is the segment where I share something that I have learned about Blacks in the fiber community. And we'll just leave it at fiber community, because I'm just going to like rabbit hole and dance through meadows of information as I come across them. So, Blacks in the fiber community. This week we're going to talk about Sojourner Truth. And many of you may know her as like an abolitionist or someone who spoke out against slavery, also a suffragist. She did a lot of speaking for and about rights for women, as well as rights for African Americans. And she was also a traveling preacher. So many of you may know that about her. So I came across this particular aspect of her when I was like searching, you know, Black people knitting. And it turns out that she was a knitter. Now, that's not something that is surprising for her in particular, bearing in mind where she was born, where she lived, and everything like that. She was born enslaved in New York. Her birth name was Isabella Baumfree, and she was born to like in like a Dutch community. So Dutch was her first language. Spinning and knitting was something that she learned as a child, so it wasn't something that was out of character for her. So she was born enslaved, as I said, grew up as a slave, and at a particular point in her life, she walked away, which I think is amazing. There was actually a quote that I found where she was talking about when she walked away. And I specifically say walked away because in the quote she says, "I did not run off, for I thought that wicked, but I walked off believing that to be all right." And I thought that was very interesting. And that shows a lot of her character, tying into her changing her name from Isabella Baumfree to Sojourner Truth. and following the call of, God telling her to go and tell, basically like spread hope to people and be this traveling preacher. And it shows a lot of her character for where or in how she would follow her beliefs so staunchly to in being a slave and walking away from that. So dangerous. That is an understatement. But yeah. So she, became a traveling preacher. She spoke out against slavery. She spoke up for rights for women and everything like that. And one of the hindrances that she experienced was, aside from, speaking out against these things that were so like ingrained into like the American conscience at that time, in speaking out about that, of course, there were people who, wanted to undercut what she was saying. And one of the ways that they sought to undercut everything that she was saying and standing for was to basically try to take away her femininity. And they said people were basically insinuating that because of her stature, because of the way she carried herself and how she talked and how she sounded, that obviously she couldn't be a woman. And her speech, "Ain't I a Woman?" There's some debate on the authenticity of the phrasing in that, but whether or not it is a quote, like someone actually quoted her as this is what she said, the point still remains. In that entire speech, she's saying, men say that a woman is XYZ, but people never did these things for me because of, the fact that she was a slave. And she says, "Ain't I a woman?" And it seems that was something that followed her a lot, having to reiterate her womanness, to the point where she specifically had herself photographed for like business cards, almost like you could think of it as a business card, but it's a photograph, and I'll put a picture of it, of her sitting in a finely tailored dress and holding her knitting, and with in such a way, in such a posture to look as much like the respectable middle class woman that she was speaking to. And that was the image that I came across when I was, first searching, and when I first came across this idea that, Sojourner Truth was a knitter. Now, I've seen this picture plenty times and somehow never noticed the knitting in her hand, which is really interesting. But she not only used or highlighted her knitting as a way to reiterate her femininity, she also used it as a tool to teach and uplift former slaves. During and after the Civil War, she would go from former slave camps and refugee camps, like camp to camp, teaching knitting and other skills, so that these newly freed slaves would have a skill that could potentially support them, in their new life. And just in the bit that I have read about Sojourner Truth, she just seems to be such a pillar. She seems to be such a steadfast person, such a woman of principle, that it makes me want to, read more about her. And Sojourner Truth is one of those people that, You know, when I was in school during Black History Month, there was like a poster about her. But, you know, I don't remember ever really going into depth about the person that she was or what she stood for, what she did. And I'm definitely going to have to remedy that. So this is definitely, I use definitely twice, that's weird, whatever. This is a great way that the Black Fibers, Black Threads segment is helping me as a person. It's introducing me to, not introducing me, it's bringing the relevance of Black history to my mind in a new way, where I don't know. It just kind of is giving me a new lens to view Black history through. So I feel like every week whenever I share this information with y'all, I find a new appreciation for the people that came before me, and a new appreciation for, you know, this skill of knitting and crocheting and working with yarn and working with fabrics and things like that. You know, it almost is a heritage in itself, and that's a really awesome thing. So I hope that was interesting for you. It's definitely something that was a pleasure for me to read and learn about in this past week. That brings us to the end of this week's episode. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. If this is your first time watching my podcast, I hope you enjoyed it. If this is not your first time, thanks so much for coming back and hanging out with me once again. As I love to ask, take a moment, go down in the comments and leave a comment of something great that happened to you in the last week. I love reading your comments of like your moments of joy. My moment of joy from this week, it was yesterday. Yesterday evening, Lamar and I went and had family pictures done. So I'll put up some pictures of from our session. We went to JCPenney Portrait because I work there. And we did our St. Patrick's Day pictures. So I'll show you a couple of them because some of them are really cute. And we're so silly. And we can't take a serious picture to save our lives. But that is my life. And I love it. So yeah, leave a comment down below of something that brought you joy this week. I will give a heads up. I am planning to do some vlog videos this weekend. So you guys will get to see what an Oakwood University alumni weekend is like. I'm super excited about it. I have been writing some poetry. So I can't wait to share those poems with you. I'll share them on the next episode. So next week's episode, I'll have my poems finished. I have 2 poems that I'm writing, both for this weekend, both to be performed in front of only Lord knows how many people. And I'm just not going to think about it because I get anxiety about that now. So unfair. But yeah, wish me luck with that. Fingers crossed that the poetry fairies will help me get these done. And yeah, that's it, y'all. Peace, love. Have a great week. Bye.